So hello and welcome to another Nothing But Football interview, this time with current Bristol Rovers, former Wolves, Peterborough, Bristol City and Bolton defender Mark Little. So first and foremost, how are you, Mark?
Yeah, feeling good, mate. Feeling good. Straight off the training pitch, ready to roll.
Oh, brilliant. Well, it's a pleasure to have you on the show. We're just going to get straight into things and ask the first question. So it's just, how did you get into football?
Running around school playgrounds, I think. Dad chucked me a ball in the garden. I seemed to enjoy it. And then, it was just something I enjoyed doing at school. And then how I got into, so I played locally first. I'm from Worcester, so I played for a team called Trafford as well, which is basically like the local sports centre. And then I got scouted there. Well, scouted for a few clubs at that point. Didn't get into it. I was at Coventry for a little bit in their like development centre, I think it's called. But didn't get offered any contract or anything. But then Wolves came knocking, and then I signed for them. So that's how I got started.
Yeah. So going into your career, first season, you part of the Wolves side that got to the playoffs. I'm from the Midlands myself, and I know how big of a game this is for both sets of fans. You played in the semi-finals of I think you come on at Molineux, I think, against West Brom. You know, what an atmosphere that must have been to play in, and it must have hurt to lose that one.
Yeah, I gave a penalty away, mate. The one you're saying, I actually came on against them at their place at the Hawthorns, and I came on, and within 5 minutes I gave a pen away, which wasn't ideal, but that was probably one of my darkest days in football. Basically, at that point, I was so devastated because I was pretty much a Wolves fan. I lived in Diggs, so I was around a family of Wolves fans, and they lived and breathed it. And I was a young lad, so I was in around the town and stuff. So I really felt how important it was to the Wolves boys, Wolves fans. And then to give a penalty away was like the worst thing ever. So that was probably the darkest time in football for me, really. I went home to my digs and I locked myself in the room for a couple of days, just because of how much it meant to the Wolves fans. But then what I was going to say, if that didn't happen, just I didn't at the time I didn't understand how big those games were. I was just young, getting on with it. But looking back now, especially like the level of my career is at the moment, and to say that I was playing in those types of games, it was phenomenal. So. Yeah, I had all these accolades young in my career, so it gives you the experience going forward.
Definitely.
Just off the back of that, you say you were living with a family of Wolves fans. Sort of, did that help you get over the loss of it all and help you bounce back in your career?
Yeah, they did. They were lovely people. They were awesome people that we lived with. I basically had two families. I had my mum and dad looking after me, and then I had my Diggs family looking after me, and they were superb. And I could tell how much it would have meant to them as diehard Wolves fans, and they were still there to say it'd be okay. And to be honest, I was a young lad. I was only 18, I believe. So, and the fans liked me because I one of their own, and I worked really hard and smashed in tackles. I wasn't afraid of tackling anyone from West Brom. So I think that the fans were okay with me. I didn't receive any negativity or anything like that. I think it was a bit before social media of Twitter and all that sort of stuff, but everything was completely fine. It was just the disappointment that I felt was that I put my pressure on myself. So it wasn't I was like going to Tesco's or whatever and getting stick. It wasn't anything like that. But one of those hardest things to get over. Honestly, it genuinely gave me a kick because it couldn't get much worse. Like when I went off to Peterborough, like there was nothing I could do at Peterborough which would equal that moment. Do you know what I mean? So it kind of gave me the freedom to go and enjoy myself.
Yeah, and at Wolves, I believe you were under the Mick McCarthy that season, weren't you?
Yeah, that season it was. Yeah.
So what was he like to play under? I mean, we see him in the media, and I mean, But what is he like, sort of behind the scenes and to play under?
No, he's awesome. He really is. He's a top bloke. And the team that he had around him then, he now goes around with Terry Connor. Terry Connor is his assistant. He takes him everywhere with him. And TC was my reserve manager for many years. I think it was 3 or 4 years he was my reserve manager. And those guys, do you know what? They are just genuine, tough blokes, if you know what I mean. There's no, I was going to swear, but there's no rubbish around them. There's no fluffiness. They'll tell you straight exactly how it is. And that's all you need in a manager. There was no politics with them or anything like that. It was genuine. Like, if you're good enough, you're playing. If you're not good enough, you're not playing. And that's all you ask for as a player, really. And he was honest enough with me, because when I left Wolves, there was a scenario where he was like, "Look, Mark, I'd love to keep you." At the time, when I left, they were in the Premiership, so it was like, I'd love to keep you, but at the age that I was, so I think I was 19 or 20 at that point, and then I wasn't getting a lot of games because Wolves were in the Prem. And he was just honest enough. He said, "Look, I'd love to keep you as one of my players, but it would be at the detriment to yourself, because I could end up being there till I'm early 23, 24 and not get any games." So he advised me to go out and play some games, which I did, and moved to Peterborough. And then I think I played at least 100 plus games for Peterborough. So it was, which again was really, really a good thing in the end, which I can only thank him for, because if he was a selfish manager, he might have just put me on a contract just to keep me at the club, hoping that I might develop for him. But he was honest, and that was what it was. So I completely and utterly respect the man, and I hope he does really well at Cardiff.
Yeah. To be fair, you've just led us on to what the next question was going to be. I was going to say you were at Wolves and you made 26 appearances in your first season, then you ended up leaving. I was going to ask how, but you've explained that. So we'll move on to the next question, which was, when you were at Peterborough, you played under Darren Ferguson. What was he like? And did his old man ever pop in for a get to the games or to training?
So obviously, like I said, my dad's a United fan. I basically took on a Wolves fan role because I was under my dad's household. So then I was kind of like a United fan as a kid. I had all the United kits and all that sort of stuff. But then when I moved digs to Wolves, I was playing for Wolves, and I lived in a household full of Wolves fans. I kind of then took on the flag of being a Wolves fan. I am a bit like that. I do change the team, so I do apologise. I know that's not acceptable during fans, but it was. So yeah. So going back to that, Fergie's obviously a hero of mine. When I get asked the question of who's my heroes, I always say the class of '92 and Fergie, how he built that structure. So when to go and work under, it wasn't actually, I didn't go to Peterborough for Darren Ferguson. It was Gary Johnson. I went down. No, it was Gammon was the first manager to take me on loan, and then the next person was Gary Johnson, and then Fergie came in. And I got on with him, another bloke that I've just got ultimate respect for. Awesome manager. Obviously he got all his managerial ideas from his dad. So if he's learning from the best, then you know how to deal with players and picking teams and all that sort of stuff. Having to deal with the director of football and the owner, like he's really good. Like he knew exactly what he was doing, and I put him in definitely my favourite manager group. There's not, like, what they produce year after year down in Peterborough is miraculous. They've got their own little what would you say, plan of their own little culture and little plan of what they're doing. They know full well that they ain't gonna spend 10 million. They're where they are. They're exactly where they are, and they keep year in year out producing great players and keeping them in a really good position. So he's left and he's come back, as again you can see how good of a player Peterborough is.
Just off the back of that, what was Barry Fry like to be around?
Oh, he was interesting, Barry. He was interesting. he's obviously, I've been to many clubs now, and Baz to take the role of director of football down there. Like, he's the best at what he does. He genuinely is the best at what he does. Proper football man, proper again, another gent, and he knows what he's doing. And he's not gonna please everybody, but I don't think he's there to please everyone, if I'm quite honest. So yeah, I was there for 4 years, and we obviously there was things that he said, and we were like, oh God, Barry, and you hated him for a couple of weeks. But bottom line is, he's a very good man, and he's very good at what he does. So I enjoyed it. Again, I've come away now and looked at it differently. Like, we all, from a player's point of view, the owner, Mr. McCarthy, used to sit. He literally sits just above the tunnel, which is within shouting distance, so you could hear every one of his comments. So we used to think, chairman used to absolutely batter us if we were rubbish, and rightly so, to be fair. Like, it was. So whilst I was there, I was like, chairman's here again. Turned up in his Ferrari just to tell us we're crap, and that was his mentality. But now I've moved away and looked at it from a helicopter view. It's awesome, because he literally lives and dies by the club. He isn't some donor who just he's doing it for entertainment. He has genuinely got his club at heart, and does everything he possibly can for it. So now I've moved away. You know when you're in a business, and you kind of I hate my boss. You know what I mean? And then you come away and you think, you know what, he was actually superb. And I do miss my time down there.
Yeah. And like you say, sort of at Peterborough, some of the players you played with, I mean, the likes of Dwight Gale, Britt Assombalonga, George Boyd. How long you got?
How long have you got? I could go on for ages, mate. You got
Well,
Ryan Bennett playing up there. God, Lee Tomlin, like you say, Boydie, Gailey, Assombalonga, Macau Smith, Aaron McLean. Like, it's just list will go on for days. That these lads that have come from where none of those came from. Well, I came from Wolves and came down, but all the others kind of come from non-league or lower clubs, and they obviously their careers have absolutely shot off after Connor Washington. You mentioned, like, all these lads that have come through, and their careers are taken off. So, like I said, their way of doing things down there is I don't know another club that does that. You can't say there's another club in the UK that goes and recruits players from non-league, and then the amount of percentage. Don't get me wrong, they did get it wrong now and again. They did bring some absolute ringers in, don't get me wrong about that. But they didn't get past. They used to come in for training, and then we used to think, oh God, what have we got here now? But then they never used to get past Fergie on the pitch, and you'd know which ones won. If they got past, if they passed the Fergie test, then you know they were going to get a move somewhere. But the guys that Barry Fry used to come in, we used to play like, say, reserve games or under 23 games against different clubs, and we used to play like Nike Academy, for example. That's an academy of lads that have kind of been in the system and find their way out. We knew that when we played the Nike Academy, if a lad played well, like, they'd be with us the next Monday morning, and that was every time we played them. Barry used to just pick the best one and go, right, you'll train with us on Monday. Some of them were so bad, but then again, some of them we signed, and then obviously they do what they do. So it's incredible time. It was like Coronation Street down there. There was always something going on. There was always a story.
Well, like you say about George Boyd, I remember watching him for Hull, and he played against my side in the final, and I remember him being called, I think he was called the White Pele, they used to call him. Fantastic to watch.
He's a very good player. He was a brilliant person to play with. He used to run all day, heart on his sleeve, very good player. And he was there for the whole time I was there. So he was looked, obviously he's an absolute hero back there as well. So yeah, I remember the season he was supposed to go. He was supposed to get a big move, and the chairman persuaded him to stay. Chairman flew over to I think it was Portugal where we were, and I swear he just flew over just to persuade Boydie to stay, and he did his job. Boydie stayed, and we had a really good season. I believe we got promoted that year. So yeah, it was fun times.
Obviously, Gale and Assombalonga. Gale's playing for Newcastle in the Premier League most weeks. Assombalonga got a £15 million move to Middlesbrough. Could you tell that they were going to go on to much bigger and better things in a non-disrespectful way?
None of the boys that were there, because of the standard of lads that we had, none of them came in and were like, oh my God, they're absolutely outstanding, because our whole squad were full of similar players, which were lads, really good lads. There was no idiots there, really good lads that worked really hard for each other. Gailey, for example, the strikers, you knew, because that's literally just on goals. There's nothing else, like how many goals they do. And we at Peterborough, we always used to score goals. Like we scored goals every season. Even the season we got relegated, I think we were one of the top goal scorers. We just used to score for fun. So you know that any striker that's scoring 15 by Christmas, they're looking to be moving on by January, and by 30 by the end of the season, you're going to get yourself a move, whether that's League One or whether that's in the Championship. That's what's going to happen. So I couldn't say, because like the lads you just mentioned, Gailey, Britt Sommalonga, the two Macau Smith, Aaron McLean, Connor Washington. I think of lads that I'd missed, because there's even more than that. I know there was another 5 or 6 lads that used to play up front. I used to give them all the assists, and then they used to just get their moves to the Prem. That's what used to happen.
So, in the moving on to Bristol City now, you won the Football League trophy, picking up man of the match, and you scored in the latter against Dean Smith's Walsall side. Talk us through the feeling of scoring a goal at Wembley.
That is just. You know, when people say unbelievable, that the whole meaning of that word, it was unbelievable. Like there was no way I even thought at any 1 second I was going to be scoring at Wembley. I don't even, 9 times out of 10, I know I'm not going to score at a home game, let alone at Wembley, to score such an important goal. Like it was unbelievable. So you just revert to standard, don't you? Don't think I didn't have any pre-booked celebrations, or I didn't think, right, if I score here, I'm going to go to my family that are over there or whatever. I ran towards where my mates were sat, and I didn't even know they were sat there. And then kind of worked my way back to where I knew where my family was at. So I kind of worked my way back over there. And that was just me thinking on the spot. There was no preconceived celebrations, which usually was the case at Bristol City, to be honest. Like we knew we were going to score at Bristol City. Was that the Championship season? No, that might have been the Championship. But League One season, for example, when we won the league, we knew we were going to score every game. So we had celebrations ready to go every game. And if we didn't score, we used to get absolutely hammered. That was such an interesting season. We used to get battered for drawing. Like, it was crazy.
Yeah,
and I mean, I remember when I was 16, I played 45 minutes at one call stadium, and I remember how I felt. So I can't imagine how it feels scoring at Wembley. Never mind just playing there.
Yeah, I struggle to explain to you. I'm not very good at English to kind of articulate exactly what it felt like. But just imagine for you, it's very similar for you guys. Is what I felt. I didn't feel that I had any right to be playing at Wembley in front of 80,000, let alone scoring. So when it did happen, I imagine it'd be the same feeling as anyone else. I think it's different for, I don't know, strikers and, you know, like strikers that have had really good careers. If you think, right, I might get a chance to play at Wembley, it might go through their head, but I'll tell you now, it never went through my head. I was going to be scoring at Wembley.
I mean, we've just got asked though. I mean, you played a final at Old Trafford and you played a final at Wembley. Which did you prefer?
That's a tough question, you know. Like I said, you're not like Old Trafford. It was, it was special to me. Big Fergie was there as well, and that one was I was extremely nervous. That one, the one at Old Trafford. Like that's the game where if you ever say where were you most nervous? It was that one, and I kind of just had a solid game where I just did my job, type of thing. I wasn't, like I said, at Peterborough, I was quite encouraged to raid up and down the right hand side, provide crosses and assists for the front men, and it wasn't that type of game. It was, I just needed to sit in at right because of how the game went. We scored 3 goals in such a quick succession. It wasn't a game for me to go and create anything. It was kind of me just sit there and do my job, and that's what I did. Nervous as how, so it was just, that one was a bit of a blur. But then when I move on and I'm at cup finals, obviously I can take it in a bit more then, because I've kind of already done it. I've already done the playoff, the playoff semis, the playoff final. So by the time I got to Wembley, I was quite relaxed.
So 14-15 season, you mentioned it was a really good Bristol City team. You come to the Rico and gave Coventry an absolute battering. I remember that. So, was that the best team you've played in?
Yeah, it's got to be. It's got to be. It don't happen much for people going to the Rico and give Coventry a game, but we certainly did.
That was just a unbelievable season. I'd find it difficult to top that. It was impeccable. It was, like I said, we used to get in trouble when I can remember a time we were winning 3-0 at half time and the manager Steve Cottrell came in and gave us a bollocking. I swore there, apologies, but I don't know if I can bleep
no worries.
But he gave us the right telling off. So that just, you can see the standards that were set at that club, and obviously the enjoyment around it. It was the feeling of going into a game every Saturday, looking forward to the game because you're that confident that you're going to win. It's for the whole year. It was just fun and games. Like it was really, really, really enjoyable. Obviously, during courses of seasons, you think, oh, this is going to be a tough game, or this is going to be a physical game, or I can't see us winning today. And that's the case during most seasons. If you're honest with yourself, that's how players would go through players' heads. But that year, it was just like, how many are we going to score today? Who's getting on the score sheet today? And it was so much fun to go through.
I think Aiden Flint scored about 11 goals from centre half, didn't he?
Yeah, made his career, didn't we? Made his career.
Yeah,
I'm sure I must have given him a few assists as well. But yeah, Flinty, without a shadow, like he's got an eye for goal. Like don't get that twisted. He knows what he's doing in both boxes. But yeah, he scored his hat-trick the last game of the season, and Rabana or whatever. Yeah,
I could be wrong. He scored
me
a
at Wembley as
didn't
well. What's that?
Didn't he score a Rabona volley or something ridiculous like that?
Yeah. Last day of the season against Walsall again after we beat them in the cup. Bless them, they had a bad year that year.
He's not a bloke I'd want to bump into down the back alleyway. That's all I'm saying.
We've had some run-ins. Me and Flinty we're very, very close mates. I genuinely love him to death, but we've had a few scraps as well at the same time. He's such a feisty loser. Yeah, he's brilliant.
So we'll move on sort of to your career at Bolton now. So your career has been no short of dramatic games, and especially at your time at Bolton, who at the time were in complete turmoil. So it must have been a bit of a diamond in the rough for the club. Do you know that game against Forest? Can you talk us through sort of the last 20 minutes of that game?
Yeah, I think that's the only that was the only positive of Bolton, I believe. I can say from a human point of view, I met some good people up there, genuine people. I met some friends that I'll keep in touch with forever. But from a footballing point of view, I think that day was the only positive thing about the place. It was like you say, it was in turmoil. Oh, sorry, and the fans. The fans were absolutely superb. They were very, very supportive in such a bad time. And I think, like you mentioned there, the turmoil, the finances and all that sort of stuff. I think the board at the time were trying to blame the players for not doing, like we didn't bring in full stadiums and we weren't winning enough games, but the fans saw straight through that and knew that it wasn't from us. So I do have to say that they were a big point of enjoying Bolton. Bolton's a lovely place as well. Like, we lived in Manchester and Bolton was a lovely place. But yeah, back to that game. It was a game that the tactics were what I was kind of used to. It was back to like Peterborough days where, listen, give absolutely everything you can and go play with freedom and forget all the tactics that we've spoke about previous. Just go and do everything you can to beat this team. So we were all out gun ho. Everyone was on it. And I went into that day and I did believe we were going to win. The only time I didn't think we were going to win is when they scored the two, we were 2-1 down. So yeah, we were. It was a bit nerve wracking, but then up steps Alan Wilbraham, another really good friend of mine, and the rest is history, really.
Yeah, like you say, Bolton, it's been through. I think it's been to hell and back, really, as a football club, and I think they've been took over now. So hopefully they can start working their way back up the leagues. Finally, you're now at the blue side of Bristol, Bristol Rovers. Was it last season you joined? Was it?
Start of last season, yeah. been here
Yeah,
about
it's obviously
18
you've
months
played
now.
with a few players that I know from Coventry: Johnson, Clark Harris, Zane Westbrook, Tom Davis, Abu Agogo.
Yeah.
He's also, it's not going as well as you'd expect this season. What's it been like?
You can say that, mate. Yeah, you can say that.
I haven't, if I'm quite honest, I haven't really got going here. I came in, missed quite a bit of pre-season through small niggles, which is, if you can imagine, you need a full pre-season, so whether that's 6 or 8 weeks to get yourself completely and utterly fit to prepare for the whole of the season. Even when I was like rocking my ankle and I kind of missed 10 days or something, it was so detrimental for the rest of the season. So I was kind of in and out the first year. The first manager who signed me got frustrated with that, and I understand why he did. He's obviously signed me. I came down from a championship club to kind of, and with my experience, wanted me to go and lead everything, and that's exactly what I wanted to do. But unfortunately, due to injuries, that wasn't how it went. So I didn't get many games. Then the season kind of, I got myself back fit, ready to rock and roll, and then COVID hit. So that was the end of my season. So that last year was kind of poor. And then we came into this season. I did complete the full pre-season, fit as a fiddle. I played the first 3 games. Then I had a reoccurring calf injury. And in that time, we changed our manager. And then the new manager's come in, and he's basically brought in one of his favourite players from a previous club he was at, which is in my position. So it leaves me being surface of requirements, to be quite honest. Not really needed, but I just do my part, train every day as hard as I can, and help the boys, give them as much experience as I possibly can. Try and point everyone in the right direction, although it's very, very tough in the position you're in, but there's not much more I can do about that at the moment. So you have to head down and work hard, really.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if you're ever looking for a club, we've got a 7-a-side team on a Sunday. Hotwell FC.
Well, I'm pretty good at 7-a-sides at the moment, because that's all I've been doing. Honest, I don't plead anything 11-a-side, so yeah, I might be all right at that.